Hello and welcome to Movie Zone. In this video, we will be recapping a comedy horror Indian movie called Chandramukhi released in 2005. Let's get into the video. The movie starts with the American psychiatrist Saravanan visits his childhood friend, Senthilnathan, and his wife Ganga while they both are on vacation. Senthil asks for his help in convincing his mother, Kasturi, to allow him and his wife to stay at Vettaiyapuram Mansion. First she refuses, but later agrees to them. She warns her son that the mansion isn't safe and too dangerous. It was closed for more than 150 years by the villagers for its terrific history. Later, we get introduced to Senthil's family members, Kandasamy, who always obeys his elder sister's orders, Murugasan, house husband and madly loves his wife, Swarna, beautiful wife, and flirts with Saravanan. Murugasan gets possessive whenever he sees his wife with Saravanan. Later Murugasan asks Saravanan not to chat with his wife, and in return Saravanan wants him to show the Vettaiyapuram Mansion. As Murugasan promises, he takes Saravanan to that mansion, but Saravanan forcefully takes him into that mansion. Saravanan leaves him alone there, and terrifying Murugasan experiences supernatural things and gets traumatized. Next, we see the eldest sister, Akalandeswari, gets mad at Saravanan for taking him there. The family gets shocked after realizing Senthil was married to an unknown orphan girl, Akalandeswari, who wants Senthil to marry her daughter, so they could reunite their family after 30 years. Again Senthil shocks them by letting them know he and his wife will be staying in Vettaiyapuram Mansion. Surprisingly, Akalandeswari announces a whole family should go along with Senthil and stay there to avoid the village people talking bad about their family. But Saravanan doubts her real intention is something else. The family goes to their ancestor temple, and the chief priest reveals the cause of everyone's terror of the mansion. Around 150 years before, in Vijayanagaram, Andhra Pradesh, a ruthless king named Vettaiyan fell in love at first sight to a classical dancer, Chandramukhi, but she was already in love with another dancer, Gunasekaran. When Vettaiyan didn't get the attention he wanted from her, he got mad and took her to his palace forcibly. Chandramukhi secretly made Gunasekaran to stay in a house across the palace and met him without Vettaiyan's acknowledgement. Later, when he finds out the truth, he feels betrayed and takes revenge on Durgashtami by beheading Gunasekaran in front of Chandramukhi and burning her alive. As she dies with unfulfilled, she returns as a ghost, tries to take revenge on him. Vettaiyan, who seeks help of priests and necromancers from many countries to tame it, and successfully locks it in a funerary. It was secured by a 30-foot king cobra in a room placed at the corner of the palace. Priest also reveals that Vettaiyan dies after a few days. Later, Saravanan and Murugasan discuss on detecting a ghost presence and gets scared of gardener's granddaughter, Durga, assuming her ghost. We see Ganga wants to visit the room up there after hearing Chandramukhi's story because she believes it was made up to avoid thieves from stealing the room's treasures. Unfortunately, she was interrupted by her mother-in-law. That midnight Saravanan bumps into Kandasamy's daughter, Priya, and she reveals that she is in love with dance master Vishwanathan, who is ready to marry her with their family's permission. Senthil is informed via email that Saravanan will be attending a patient, and he promises to reach out if anything occurs before leaving. Before he leaves, he informs Kandasamy about his daughter's love and supports them. We could see he has some interest in Durga. Later, Ganga asks Durga to follow her to Chandramukhi room to arrange her old books there, but Durga refuses to go with her and says her grandpa will kill her. Then Ganga says she will go alone there, and Durga feels bad to let her go alone. She also reveals her family members went to Vishwanathan's house to discuss marriage, and it's perfect time to explore. As they both reach the staircase, Ganga removes the chain and goes upstairs. Now we see the Chandramukhi room, and the door lock is full of trinkets with many threads on it. Durga asks her not to untie it, and Ganga replies there's nothing supernatural inside, and it's all a myth that people believe dumbly. She says she could prove it if she had the key to the room. We got to know the room's key was lost after Vettaiyan's demise, but Durga's grandpa got the key mold for that room. Ganga receives the duplicate key from her. Excited Ganga removes the trinkets and unlocks the Chandramukhi's room. Subsequently, Senthil was almost hit by a lorry. Ganga is amazed after seeing the greatness of that room, and notices Vettaiyan's portrait hung on the wall. She sees a door with snake design on it and realizes Chandramukhi's bedroom. Again she notices a portrait of Chandramukhi in her dancing attire. We see there's a king cobra under the table. Ganga runs out of that room after she hears Durga calling her. She reveals the guy who made the duplicate key was found dead and she fears what will happen to them. Ganga says that guy was very drunk and might have died because of it. Later, Ganga goes to that room again and removes the cobweb and cleans the room. While doing so, she sees Chandramukhi belongings and sees the house and Viswanathan across from the window. At night, the housemaid gets terrified and claims she witnessed a ghost walking in the kitchen. The family feels strange things happening around them, and things break inexplicably. The next day Ganga is caught on fire and everyone's eyes fell on Durga. Next we see Saravanan comes back to that mansion, and all of them are there to greet him. Meanwhile, Priya, who was looking for Ganga, saw the shadow of Chandramukhi and chased down by her. She was locked in an airtight room and fainted. That night, Saravanan hears loud music from upstairs, so he decided to go and check out. The music stops right away when he hits the door. Next morning he asks Ganga to give a room tour in Chandramukhi's room. She shows him Chandramukhi clothes and her jewelry. Kandasami's wife asks Durga to pass the coffee she made for Senthil. Saravanan finds a poison bottle and learns that coffee has been poisoned. Right in time he breaks the glass and lets them know it was poisoned. He takes stand for Durga and claims she is innocent. Senthil almost would have died when a fish tank fell on his head. Durga was the one cleaning near the fish tank. She begs them that it wasn't her fault. But Saravanan locks her in a room. When he hears the same music the other night, he goes to the room and locks the Chandramukhi from the door outside, who was dancing. He wore Vettaiyan's sandals, took his stick and walked like him. Chandramukhi got mad when she heard the Vettaiyan's footsteps and wanted to kill him. He asks her to go now and come back to Durgashtami to take revenge on him. Next day the greatest exorcist of India arrives at the mansion and reveals that he can't expel Chandramukhi from that place without Saravanan's help. Family were shocked as he mentioned Senthil's wife Ganga is possessed by Chandramukhi. In order to save her, his friend Saravanan has to sacrifice himself. Saravanan reveals that he witnessed something odd in Ganga that night. They went to Chandramukhi's room and later he confirms that she was the one dancing with loud music in that room. She did all this behind Senthil's back. She also attempted to kill Priya and her husband by poisoning his coffee and pushing the fish tank over his head. She fires her own sari to avoid others feeling suspicious of her. And she draws the attention towards Durga and frames her as the culprit. She thinks that Viswanathan is her lover, as he is staying at Gunasekaran house in order to reunite with him. The two obstacles were his fiancée, Priya, and her husband, Senthil, and that's why she decided to kill them. Further, Ganga assumes that Saravanan is the Vettaiyan since she saw him in his costume. He stated that the saddest part is Ganga doesn't know she is possessed by Chandramukhi. On Durgashtami, Senthil then tests Ganga to see for any sign of Chandramukhi. So he asks her to leave 2 days for a vacation, but she threatens him to leave her alone. He shouts at her and goes back to normal. She cries there's something happening to her and passes out on him. Then Saravanan shares his plan to Senthil and Viswanathan that the exorcist will perform pujas at the place where Chandramukhi burnt alive. While they were discussing, they hear a noise and find out Ganga has left the room. They run to Chandramukhi's room and witness Ganga as Chandramukhi dancing madly. Viswanathan joins her and she gets excited seeing him. They start dancing together. She notices the exorcist and gets scared of him. As Saravanan enters, she sees him as Vettaiyan and runs towards him. Then the exorcist forcefully pushes her into the puja. Then he asks her what is her wish and she says that she wants to burn Vettaiyan alive. Chandramukhi promises she will leave Ganga after killing Vettaiyan. Kerosene poured on Saravanan and she throws the torch on it. Senthil then opens the trapdoor where Vettaiyan's statue appears and Saravanan escapes. She is convinced that Vettaiyan is dead and leaves Ganga's body. The movie ends with all of them being happy and reunited.